The first day of when I started teaching, we had to all, the faculty and students and staff, line up to get ID cards. So you went up to the desk and you said to the person at the desk, either faculty, staff, student, they would write that down on chalk. You would hold it up while they took your picture so they knew which ID to give you. So I got up to the desk and I said, faculty, and she said, you're making a joke? And I said, no, really, I'm a professor here. She said, no, you're a student. Don't try and kid me. So I went walking along the long line and I found one of my students, this 6 feet tall guy. And I took him by the hand and I brought him up and I said, would you tell this woman who I am? And he said, this is my professor. And hello, I'm Karen Kaplowitz. I'm a Associate Professor of English at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I teach all literature courses, though earlier in my career, I taught journalism courses and I taught composition courses, but I teach literature courses. And I'm also very active in the college. I'm the Vice President of the Faculty Senate, which represents the entire faculty of John Jay. For a long time, I was the president of the Senate, and then I felt it was time to let someone else have a chance to do it. I'm also on the University Faculty Senate, representing the faculty of the entire university. So I really love being involved with the college. At one time, I was the advisor to the student newspaper, and that was a lovely experience. So I started at Queens College's pre-med, and then I took a course that totally transformed my life. I loved the science courses, but I didn't have any time to read any novels, any fiction, any literature. And I had spent my whole life reading. And so I decided that if I took a lit course, I would have to do homework, which meant I'd have to read, and therefore I'd get some reading in. So I took this course, Greek and Roman literature and translation, and the professor was phenomenal. First of all, she was the first woman professor I had had, and she was fabulous. She would come in these fabulous clothes and sit on the desk and swing her legs and laugh uproariously at witty comments the students made, and she would tell us how much our essays, our midterms, our homework meant to her, how she enjoyed it. And I said to myself, I want to be that person. And I started teaching, and I loved it from day one. I just loved it. So actually, the semester before that I spent at Queens College as an adjunct, I hated it. I was terrible. My mother had died a week before school started, before the semester started. And I was evicted from my apartment. So I was homeless and motherless. My father was in a hospital, a psychiatric hospital. And I remember the first day of class at Queens College. It was a 2-hour class, each class, and I ran out of everything to say in 20 minutes. I had the most important experience as a teacher, I think, that semester, because I was invited to have coffee with a bunch of my students. And one of the students asked me, why were you so terrified of us? And I said, is that what you thought? Oh my goodness. I said, my mother had just died and I was just grieving. I was just traumatized. And they said, why didn't you tell us? And it had never occurred to me. And I learned so much from that. And my professors never revealed anything about their lives. You didn't know if they existed outside of the classroom. And this was a revelation to me that, I could talk to my students as a person. So when I started at John Jay, I had some experience, but I also had that lesson from my students. And from day one, everything went perfectly. And so here I am. So I proposed an introduction to journalism class, which was Journalism 233. And it went through the curriculum process. The department thought it was a great idea. The college curriculum committee thought it was a good idea. So I taught that course. And then I created another course called English 333, which was journalism workshop. It was a great experience. And then you're not going to believe this. So I was teaching in my third or fourth precinct, and between my morning classes and my night classes, I crossed the street and a bus hit me. Would you like to hear my proudest activism experience at the college in my whole life? What I'm most proud of. In 1988, we got the money to build what became Harron Hall. And I went to the then president and I said, it's rare that buildings are built or changed in a way that makes them truly accessible to people with disabilities. I said, I'd like to be on the committee that's planning this building because, I had a lot of experience. I spent a lot of time in wheelchairs and using canes. And so the president said, don't worry, we've hired the best architects. They'll do everything perfectly. So the Harron Hall opens up, and it was a disaster for people with disabilities. So then at the College Council, I arranged for a student and a professor to testify, in effect. And the students, they were both wheelchair users. And the professor, a man, testified. He showed us the glass jar that he urinates in, because there's no urinal that he could get his wheelchair close enough to. And the female student explained that because she could not get into any stall, she never drinks or eats anything from hours before she leaves the house till she comes home at night from John Jay. And so it still didn't work. I was in such a rage for years over this. So I went to the mayor's office for people with disabilities after I got the authorization from the Senate. And I told the story to the mayor's office for people with disabilities, and they sent a lawyer and an architect who specializes in buildings that are accessible or not accessible to people with disabilities. And the two of them and I and several administrators took a tour of Harron Hall. And the two people from the mayor's office took notes and notes and notes. And it wound up to be 14 pages, single space of violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act. We met with the architects who didn't want to make the changes because it would change the look. And the lawyer from the mayor's office said, then we'll sue you. This is a lawsuit. And Professor Kaplowitz can be the plaintiff because she is disabled, and she, and so all of those changes were made. If you're doing the right thing, it doesn't matter what the reaction is. I'm having a great time. That's my final comment. I'm having a great time.